I'm late, but it's Friday night and I'm live. So, what's going I literally just walked in the door and ran in here. So, very little preparation has been done and it's been a busy one. I apologize for my tardiness. You're going to see me do a little bit of setup while I get this prepared. No, Nicole? Well, that's a dislike. You're welcome. Alex, thanks. Tonight is, tonight could be a very frustrating night for me. Maybe it will be your, at your benefit. But tonight we are demolding the next part of the carbon fiber process. I literally ran in here and I loosened the vise and I grabbed this. This is all still epoxy. Oh, no, the epoxy. Oh, the epoxy didn't really stick to the other part. That's good. So I loosened it out of the vise and ran and brought it in. That was it. So the reason I say that this could be frustrating is that these molds, if you caught the live show with Matt and I, they can be a bit tricky to demold at times, as was evident by when I took a slice off of my finger on live TV. Not live TV. What do you want to call this? Live video? A live broadcast? And this is the most complicated mold that I've done yet because it's got a rear slide that has to go first as well. So, if you're not familiar, let's have a little bit of a tease before anything. I should open a drink. I'm gonna calm myself. I was running to get in here. Well, running is a stretch. I don't really run, but I'm gonna catch you all up on this process first to give you a little background on what forged carbon fibering has to do and how I do it. So this is the kit that I bought. Forged carbon fibre development kit. It's from the UK. That's why it's spelled so interesting. But what you do, I'll just kind of show you the process here. Let's see. Do I have one of the molds in here still? Or are they all elsewhere? This is all parts from this process. This is about enough of them probably to get the idea. So this was the windshield cowl molding. And I'm trying to remember how this one went. So this is part of the bottom side, and then I had walls that went around the entire thing to create the structure. And I think this is actually a top piece. It is part of here. So you take, and you have to, in CAD, you take the volume of what your part is going to be. So say it's going to be 10 cubic centimeters, because you can just right click a part and hit properties and it will tell you how much volume a part has. Then you have to do a little bit of math. So if it's 10 cubic centimeters, the density of one of these finished carbon fiber parts should be 1.4 grams per cubic centimeter. And that should be 60% carbon fiber, 40% resin. So you take 1.4 times 10, that's 140 grams. And then you would take 60% of that. And that is what you would take, and you would put your little bucket on your scale, and you would basically just pull out whatever that would be, you know, however many grams of this really fine carbon fibers. And you just weigh it out, until you get the proper reading on your scale. Okay? Once you do that, like I said, you have to have 60% carbon and then 40% resin is the goal. So you know how much resin you need by just doing the math. And then the resin is a 130 mix. So you do that math and you weigh that out into a cup. It's a 2-part resin. 100 parts of this to 30 parts of this. You weigh that out, and then basically you start loading the carbon fiber into the mold. You push it all down in there. You put resin in with a little paintbrush, and it like overflows out of the mold. And then you take your second part of the mold and you take it on top, and then you squish it like crazy. And you put that in a vise for 24 hours. So, there you go. Long story, not so long. That's how you do the forged carbon fiber process. The only difficult part of this is the mold design. I am an amateur mold designer at this point. And we could find evidence of that here tonight. So, any questions before I start trying to pry open this mold? I'm sorry I'm missing comments. I know. I'm just catching up. Let's see. Looks like you're weighed up a sack of smoke. There was a couple of comments like that in my video. On my Instagram post yesterday. Is this Scale Nationals build going to be near and dear to you for all this work, or something you will sell down the road? Oh, I'll definitely sell it. I mean, maybe I'll keep it for a while. I'll probably keep it for a while. Maybe. I don't know. I can be easily convinced to sell things. So, damn, so carbon fiber would sink in water? Yes, because water is 1 gram per cubic centimeter. So yes, carbon fiber is heavier than water. You just don't need as much of it to be as strong. Do you have your Dremel ready to open? I don't. I do not. I should have. I'm going to have to do it the hard way. Josh needs an EMT on standby. I know. We're going to get my favorite pry tool. A hammer. So this is let's see. Getting the top out is going to be the most difficult. I tried to do my best. You do spray mold release on all of this. Oh, it's actually, I got 9-1 dialed, ready to hit 1. I mean, just getting the initial blade in there was easier than I expected. Do you guys want this view, or do you want me to go to overhead? I think I've got the overhead ready. Which one do you want? You won't see my face if I cut my hand off so much. PPE, what do I need? What do I need? Oh, damn it. Travis Gilmore's in here. What do I need for PPE? I don't even know what would be proper. Rob Montana. Oh, and I missed one from Brian Sherwood. Thanks. Rob Montana, thanks, sir. Thanks for the advice, getting it dialed slowly but surely. Nice, thanks. And Brian Sherwood, let's see blood, please. Man, I hope not. Gloves? I don't really have, like, puncture-proof gloves. This is not easy. Glasses and maybe gloves and don't slip. I know. Okay. Let's I'm gonna flake. So the other part is that you mix up more resin than you need purposefully. Rather than mixing up just 40% resin, I actually mix up 25% more than the actual carbon even. So what would that be? Like 72% resin. And then the goal is that when you compression mold it, it finds its way through places and it purposefully squeezes out of the small orifices in the mold. I'm gonna, just in case, I do have alcohol and super glue. Shop towels are here by my feet. Ben, you know my address if you need to call someone specifically. Moose Job knows where I live. You can. So I'm gonna try and so this rear plug, it had two screws in it to hold it into place. But I put three screw holes here on the back, and those are specifically so I could thread screws into place so that I could wedge this thing out as I expected that I would need to. There we go. So Josh is the living embodiment of, hey y'all, watch this. Use a razor blade. I mean, I probably could, but right. So we got. I should probably put down. So I backfilled the top plug with plaster of Paris rather than printing it solid. So we're going to thread in a couple of screws to give myself a pry point. Can't remember how long I made the threads on this. That wasn't it slowing down. That was just me only going so far. There's another one. RC Patina guy, thank you, sir. Hey, here's $4.99. Go fill up your Jeep. Oh wait, we're not in Canada. Oh, that one does not want to go in as far. That's okay. So let's try my little. That's not going to pull that way. I imagine that I'm going to have some. I'm going to have some plaster cracking. It's moving a little bit. It's moving. Perry G, thank you. This evening is awesome. I built a bonfire watching Josh try to cut off a hand, and I just heard two bucks fighting on top of the hill. This, you know what? You're really multi, like, like time period crossing. Old school bonfire. You need to be wearing a coonskin hat or something like that. I really hope that I'm not just like busting the top of this mold off. It's moving ever so slightly. I'm going to go to the, let's see if my overhead works. Now, how about that? Set time date. What do you guys think of that? Um, I can hold, please. I'm going to do something to make it better. Well, we're going to go back to this so you don't have to look at that for a minute. Let me. NVIDIA. Oh, I wonder if you guys have my crappy audio right now. No, you don't. You have good audio. Camera. We're going to switch this to that. Okay. Now what happens if there we go. Hey, you got Tiny Josh in the corner. Okay. So I'm going to angle this so you can see it a little bit better. Now you can really see as I just take a layer off of my finger. Jeremiah Salberg, much appreciated. So, due to my budget, I won't be getting VP wheels. I'll be getting SSD wheels and J Concepts Tuss and Husk foams. What would I say? Tuss and Hunks with CI foams. Man, the J Concepts, I can't remember if it's the Tusk or the Hunks. One of those has actually been a really good tire. I'm trying to pick up I'd like to grab myself a set. I haven't found them lately. Aardvark Spleen, would giving it a whack or eight loosen things up? Thanks for the streams. I hope all your fluids remain in your body during this process. It could. If depending on how things go. Well, depending on how it goes, we will see. Let's see. Okay. I think maybe taking out all of this, we're going to take out all the screws in this thing, just letting everything kind of freely do as they wish. Gotta make sure to take the screws all the way out because sometimes the resin will have locked them in place. Josh, you're going to do titanium side panels on the C1? I think you highly should. I'm going to order them regardless if I use them or not. We'll find out. Made it before the bloodletting. There, I mean, there's a chance. There's always a likelihood. I'm gonna try my best to. Do I have a PO box? I have all the stuff sent to my office, so if you ever need my address, I can give you the Vanquish address, which is where I have everything sent. Using a wrench? Wow, figured the needle nose would have been used. I love this little 5.5 millimeter wrench. It's just one of the handiest little tools. Neat. There we go. That one's in there. Okay. So let's see if we can work the. It's really annoying to work with these in the back. Now, getting this thing out of the mold is only like a small part of the real work here, because finishing it afterwards is the rest. Oh, that top moved. Let's see. I've got my. He's about to become Stabby Josh. Stabby Josh, one of our. I know I'm pushing so hard with this, my hand on the other side. Okay. Ugh. Oh, that. There we go. Piece one of the mold released. So I think I can already tell that I didn't quite get enough fill of the part back here, though. Wonder now that that is like that. Sorry, Chief's on the other side of the door. You can maybe hear a little bit on each side. You can see where the resin came through on this side, obviously. To top it all anymore now. A little more. Can't tell if it's just the top separating. Oh, it is. That was what I was worried about. That was not the mold coming out. That was just the top of the 3D print coming loose. There, it's moving. Moving a lot. I don't know if you... Okay. Looking good. Oh, is there a mold release agent you can coat the mold with? Oh, this has got lots of coats of mold release. Lots. It's got 4 heavy coats of a high build mold release wax. It's actually, you can still see it. See how that whole thing looks waxy? That's the mold release. If you didn't have a mold release on there, it would, I mean, especially to a rough 3D print, because I don't really prep these things. So that's our carbon fiber part right there. All this, all this flashing here is just the resin that worked its way through, like through the the lips and edges of the mold. Now, can we get the um, where's my little hammer? This hammer's too big. Um, Little hammer. I got it loose. Ah, perfect. Perfect. Released well. Okay. So now we need to that side is, let's see, if we break this top off, we break this top off, which we did, but that's actually not going to be that helpful because it's full of freaking plaster. Never mind. I don't want to do that. Look at all that resin. So I didn't the slide that went in from the back. It had some cavity around it, which this resin absolutely flowed into, which was fine. That was a perfectly reasonable area for it to go. Okay. Will there be blood? I don't have great prying surfaces at this point. Is that moving? Ah, come on. Can't tell if it's actually breaking free of anything or not, other than the top of this plaster coming off. Hold on a second. I'm gonna. Knocking some of that plaster that was coming loose off. Okay. Throw your purse at it. I'm trying not to be. So this part is somewhat thin. So I'm trying not to be too, you know, I don't want to just whack it with a hammer. That's what I'm saying. I'm sure this is not the most interesting thing to watch. I apologize, but I don't necessarily know any different thing to do. This microwave it? No, I don't want to. Especially with plaster, still water content. Like, are you afraid to break the mold or the piece? The piece. I don't give a shit about the mold. I mean, but I don't want to. I'd rather not just completely obliterate the mold and like try and break off each piece by piece. Okay. I would really like for the mold to come apart in one piece. Tonight's code. Hashtag I love my tiny hammer. Can someone put the website name and the code in one message so we can pin it? Boil it. This is a live stream, people. You think I have enough patience to go boil water? I'm not saying that these. Also, I don't know if how temperature stable this resin is at high temp like that. It's not specifically labeled as a high temp. It doesn't. It's a room temperature cure. Okay. I'm trying to be careful so that I don't. Thank you, Alex. There is the Satisfied Jerky code of the night. So this is the tail light bezel in there. You can see, and you can see how it like dips down in. This piece keys down into it as well. So there's a bit of an undercut, which is, I guess I technically need to try and separate this direction, not sideways, which is the difficult part. I don't want to damage the surface of any of the carbon either. Oxygen acetylene torch may help tonight. No! We're just gonna. I think all I'm doing is loosening up plaster in my hand, but quite messy. I don't know that I'll do the plaster method again. That was the first time that I had used that on a forged carbon part. I've used it on vacuum forming a lot lately, which I really like. Hold on just a second. Let me. We're gonna do a. I'm gonna knock out some more of this. I mean, not just getting rid of some of this plaster real quick, especially that's been broken loose. I still had an infill on the plaster, so there's a webbing on the top. Yeah, we're getting there. Apologize. Again, I expect this to be just absolutely riveting content. Okay, a little more. So, break out the pitching wedge. Oh, okay. So I broke off the top of that because it wasn't doing me any favors. Maybe now I can wedge down beside it. Just have Matt drive it. And fun. You know, we just throw it at a curb. It's just like a horror movie, waiting for the gore. Oh, I feel like this is getting attention for all the wrong reasons. The the Wednesday night preview version was not the. Oh, there we go. That actually did help. Come on. There we go. We've got movement for sure. Fuck dandy. So it has to work once, right? Thanks again for the advice on the shock tower. No problem. Yes, this only has to work once, but I would like to know how it works because if I do the other, when I do the other side, I need, you know, if there's changes that I should consider to make following molds better, I would like to do that. I'm not just trying to make it work once. I'm trying to learn what I need to do better at each time. I feel like this is walking itself at. Oh, it is. I can start to see some separation here. Oh, look at that. Probably couldn't see. See this little separation showing there? It's actually starting to the plunger portion, as I've called it, is starting to make its way out of the part. Yeah, this is definitely the part where me impaling myself becomes more of a possibility. A little bit. Not. There's no blood. It just hurt. Okay. Ow. It's okay. It's okay. It's moving. All right. We're out of the bottom. We got to be within a 16th of an inch or so. Come on. You know, it's coming. See the gap in there? Right. There's the plunger part. So this is as close to I've had as an act. Like this side of the part here should have this shape, but it was on this vertical surface, and I was actually super worried about that. It didn't come up into that area. And I can almost see through this. This is almost only resin, so I wouldn't call this my best part yet. It was definitely the hardest mold design though, and we're not done yet. Come on. I don't want to hit the part is the problem. Like, I guess I need to consider where the non-visible surfaces are. Pry from there. Just got some. Okay. Don't they make carbon fiber 3D filament? They do, but it's nothing like this stuff. It's nowhere near as strong. Easy Composites actually did a video of it recently, and it's like they did a bunch of really good structural testing. This stuff is very strong structurally, but and in comparison to like carbon fiber, even continuous filament carbon fiber like Markforged has, it has nothing on this. Okay. Right. Don't like hitting the part. Do not like doing that. Yeah. This should be the easy part of getting it out. I'm trying to think what features are even on this side that are causing me. I think it's just the fact that it's enclosed on three sides like that. Yeah, like if I would have cut this, if I would have made this another multi-piece part, and then that would have been the move. I don't have my soft face hammer in here. Do I have a vise? Not in this room. So I'm just seeing if I've got another option. I really do not in here. Um, it's okay. We're gonna get there. A little. Is that blood? Oh, that is a little tiny bit. There was bloodshed. Cut the mold, but be careful. That's what we're definitely going to do, uh, if need be. I think that it's just got a lot of resin, you know, going on in the on 3 walls. But let's see. Okay. We're just going to put a surface down. I don't know what I just knocked off my bench. Did that break it? That looks like it broke it loose. I mean, this is. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, I forgot it had that feature that was undercutting. Well, not undercutting, but well, kind of still, yeah. So there we go. Like I said, though, this is kind of only the start of it. So this is the part that was a clear failure. There's no carbon fiber here. This is only resin, which is not obviously structural. You can see through it. Like that's not strong enough. So that's not great news as far as that goes. I'm probably going to have to decide on a way to retrofit this surface onto this part. Because what that is that's basically my body panel attachment points. A lot of crap for a taillight. Hey, it's the that's the cost. It's not actually the taillight. It's the whole rear corner of the body. But you know, it's not really about making the corner of the body. It's about learning a whole different skill set that I've never tried before. So, is it usable? I think so. We're gonna find out, and we'll make a final decision. But I think that it is. Now, also, the tail light, the inner section here, that is very thin, which it's supposed to be because that's made to be cut out. I just made it. I knew that it would press and catch material, but it's very thin through here. Might even be able to see through it. Yeah. See how that section is see-through? That's perfect because that's all getting cut out. And that was purposeful when I was loading the mold. So. But now the whole thing is that after I pull this out of the mold, this has a terrible finish. We have to do all of the post-processing to this to get it to look like the other parts that you've seen. So that is the next part. Let's clean up this work surface a little bit. Just there's a tiniest bit of blood. Okay. Let me get this. I'll switch to this for a second. We're not looking at nothing. Gonna clean this up. I'm gonna throw the mold, that part of the mold away at the very least. I don't think that this mold will be something I reuse anyway, but I haven't been throwing away the majority of the molds at this point regardless. So I'm not going to throw that away yet. I'm going to create a huge pile. Like I said, a lot of crap for a tailor. Hey, you got to learn new skills somehow. If you don't push yourself to try things, then what are you going to do? Just 3D print forever? No. And you're always going to be bad at things when you first start. It's okay. So I'm fine with failure at first, even though I don't think that this is a failure yet. I think that this will still be usable. Now, the fill on the backside here is still isn't great, but I think I'll be able to. I think I'll be able to make this part work regardless, even if it's not the perfect one. Hopefully, then the other side becomes better. Could you get finer chopped carbon to get smaller areas access? Yes, you can, and that is a balance as far as the length of your chopped toe versus for like areas like that versus strength. So the longer the chop, the stronger that it is versus the smaller it is, the better it flows and you get better coverage. But now we're going to do a little bit of cutting, some rough filing. And then we will start sanding. I'm just going to get rid of some of this flashing. Oh, okay. We got a decent, maybe a I don't know, 16th inch of flashing up here. That peeled back. Oh, we can go to the other one. So I'm going to do, trim that back. I think this all goes down. Probably retrofit this area here so that the mounting surface is a little bit more solid and I don't have too much concern with that. I can always make a part that like I can sand down and affix to it. It's actually, the rest of it's pretty decent. So again, not perfect, but nothing has been perfect on it. It's still all kind of hand laid. In the end, I don't plan to paint or hide this stuff, so you're gonna see imperfections. Not trying to hide that at all. Jeremiah Salberg, thanks again. How many pints of blood will this build cost you? Eek. Not none. There's that. Not zero, and that's the crazy part, right? Should we? Yes, we should. I'm thinking I should drill that out. Drill that out so I can sand it. There's not a real point, and I almost wonder if I can just poke through it, depending on how thin it is. I can. That's a lot of work. Would you consider using a different size of chopped toe in a single part to fill tight spaces? I think so. Absolutely. As I learn, it's I think something that I could absolutely do. I could even do it within one part, with like cut up a bunch of chop and load it in first and try and make sure I get all the areas. And then finish the fill with the full length. I think that that's a totally reasonable option. So let's do a 5/32 drill. Yeah, that'll work. Not many builds cost 0 blood, right? All right. Just putting a hole in. Why not mold for the side panels? So there's a couple of issues with that. the length of the side panels is significant, and it's a big flat sheet. So the size of that, the surface area of it alone, to get the compression across all of that, like at this point, I've been able to mold all this stuff with a bench vise. But as I get into things that are much larger, like I don't know that I would get the same result. And when it's all flat like that, I don't know how well the resin will come out. I don't know what I'd have to change for mold designs. The other thing is time. So the just the time alone to mold those side panels would be significant. So okay. Well, this area is thin and is not completely paper thin. So a little bit of work to do, but yeah. Yes, this is a lot of work for the back corner, one corner of a body that consists of many other parts. Like, and as Matt says, I don't know if Dremel in this point, it might get away from you. So, aardvark spleen, thank you, sir. Mold them. You Sally, it looks amazing. I know you were talking about titanium for them, but matching sides would be amazing. I'm not saying they wouldn't be amazing. I just don't know if I will have any amount of time for that before this event. That's the real kicker to all of that. Like the amount of stuff that I still have to get done before this event happens is significant. Okay, that's working through there. Okay, I'm not going to bore you by keeping doing that. Yeah, Dremel PTSD. I will start giving the mods the ability to time out you all. But now, so I did bring in a bin of water. We'll go a little wider. Because for the most part, what I've been doing is wet sanding these parts. Let's see. Is this, oh, let's see, that's my 6. Remember if I brought other. Okay. So this part of it, again, not the, I might have to go a little bit heavier with this just because of how the orientation was. But it starts coming through pretty quickly as far as how the actual piece will look. The look of the whole forged carbon thing. You'll start to see it. But basically what I'm doing is wet sanding off the layer lines that found their way into the 3D printed mold. Now, if I spent a ton of time, like if I was going to do a lot of parts in one mold, I would prep my mold super well. Like I would sand the mold and prep it like I was going to do a 3D printed body. But But since I'm not, like, I might as well just finish the part rather than the mold. Hood would look sweet molded. Do you think you will have time left? The hood is definitely a plan. So I have every intention of doing the hood. So yeah, we're starting to get the look. Starting to see the come through. I'm going to hit this with a little bit heavier sandpaper quickly. Let me find it. So what did I also get? I have a bin of my sandpapers. There's 400 and 280. So let's do a little bit of 280. We'll just help get the layer lines down. And then we'll finish it off with that 600 wet band. Can you put silicone in a shell and compress that? I don't think the silicone would hold up. Do you think it would release out of the mold easier if the mold was smoother? I think that is absolutely the case. In the video, they even specifically talk about mold printing orientation because you want to try and pull the mold so that it's going with the layer lines. But with multi-piece molds, it's not as important. Really only if you're doing multi-piece, more than 2-piece. I don't know if this audio is absolutely terrible listening to sanding or not, but I apologize if it is. I'm going to keep working on it. I'll try and answer as many questions as I can while I'm sanding away, since it's the only way I can try and make it not boring for you to watch. Let's see. I don't know why it's got so dark there. It was not like that before, was it? There we go. How did you shrink yourself? Sound better than a Dremel would. Ooh, good point. Great point, even. So, just trying to go until it looks like it's getting pretty smooth. Don't they have a sanding attachment for the keep asking? Titanium sand panels would be the way to go. Carbon sheets wouldn't mismatch enough, so it wouldn't be. The carbon is right now the decide for me. It's like I've got the carbon twill panels done, so I can use those, and they're going to be much lighter than the titanium. You know, I could do aluminum as well. That would be an option because aluminum is about half the weight of titanium. But still. That's the same thickness, of course. It's ASMR. Is it? Or is it annoying? Free to go spectate the Nationals? Yes. Free, other than like the park entry fee, which is like $5 or $10. Is this a passion project? I think all of them are. So, yes. The other nice thing with the forged carbons, you don't have to worry about sanding through anything because it's the same thing throughout. Yes, ASMR and annoying are synonyms. So the layer lines of my mold were not ideal, and they are making, just how I printed it. It did cause for heavier steps, even though this was printed at 0.1. So, should you be wearing a respirator, Ben? It's not a bad question or suggestion. I should be wet sanding. That's what I have been doing. Being that this is more dust than like regular carbon fiber strands, I don't know. Probably still a good idea. I don't know how much different this is compared to like regular sanding dust of whatever. So whenever I'm like, if I'm cutting carbon with the CNC, then I wear a respirator, that whole deal. But I guess I always feel like that's different. What's up, Matt? Sanding. This is not the Josh I know. I know. Unless it's carbon fiber. It's the only thing I'll sand. Forged carbon is sandable? What? Does it give you those annoying splinters like regular carbon fiber? No. Yeah, regular carbon fiber, so annoying for that. But it's like, long string. It's way different to work with. So I still have a seam right there that I have to sand through. Use the correct side of this. I love that he's soaking his sandpaper. Matt, it works just fine that way. Thank you. Would the carbon release better from a Lexan type insert in the mold? I don't know what that means. Fine. What's the brand of this? I have a Stepcraft CNC. So does sanding give you a mirror finish? It can. You can sand all the way down to like 2000 and then polish with a polishing compound, and it will look like a clear coated finish basically. I've only been sanding to like 600, which gives you a smooth, dull finish, kind of like Matt's personality. Boom, roasted. I have sanding blocks, but wet sanding is so much nicer. I've got all the little fine ones all the way down. But especially for like this, which got a lot of ridges and yeah, where are you at there? There's the camera. Focus. I have a long ways to go still, but have you ever fried electronics by welding to a chassis? I've never. Well, I shouldn't say that. No, I haven't, but I don't know if I've ever welded to a chassis with sanding block dummy. I know what sanding block. I've got those too. I've got the pointy. I've got the one that looks like you printed, but a foam one still. Is that a taillight? It's the rear corner to the body. It's where the taillight will go there. That'll have to get finished, cut out, and then sanded. But that was the resin that basically was able to just pop out. I can't remember how much. I think I actually do need to. I've got to take about a 16th off of the bottom side. You can actually see the line where it should, the final part should go to. So I've got some extra there. That might be something I have to do on with a higher power tool than I'm going to do on a live stream. Matt should join this show. I like watching him go back and forth. Matt has to be in his studio. If Matt's in his studio, then we have the Skype ability for that. Belt sander time. I don't like getting these things too close to a belt sander just because of just that ability for it to get away from you. See, well, we're getting that look I'm going for. At the very least, staple that sandpaper to that block and hold the piece instead. I only have like 2 flat surfaces. The rest are like not a single flat area. It's all curved. This works just fine. Like, especially if like all of this, there's no way I'm getting in there. I do have to go back to 400 though. Man, I might go to 80 grit for these ridges. Starting to look nice. I agree. But the flat parts will never sand flat with those mitts. Don't you worry about that. I mean, I guess you're talking about for just that. I could. I don't. 20 grit. Ooh. Someone put Matt in timeout. I put myself in timeout. Bye. Yeah, you're welcome. Matt. Matt is yelling at his screen. Like me. Matt can yell at me for sanding every once in a while. I have unlimited things to yell at Matt about. Right. Those ridges are starting to knock down. 1 grit, a rock, be a man. The backseat sander. So this surface here, which has got a lot of ridges as well, I'm not worried about sanding smooth because that is where the tailgate sits. So this seam here kind of looks like a seam right down the middle. It's like just like God made us all. Apparently his sidewalk is 60 grit. Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting factoid. In Josh's defense, I would be doing the sanding the same way. I have sanding sticks as well, but I don't know that I'm comfortable getting into some of these areas that way. Make that seam a panel line by design. Ooh, I could do that. Probably. I probably don't have that ability, actually. Just use a buffer and call it. That's, I mean, wouldn't be out of the realm. heavy compound. This body will be incredibly strong. I would love to see the truck polished up. Ah, yeah. I definitely don't know that will be this guy's doing. All right. We'll put the piece on the wood and see what it does. Just because it ruined it. Probably. Getting there. Still got panel lines. Your paper is too dry and making too much noise. For God's sake, make it. This isn't wet dry paper. This is wet dry paper. This is 180, which is just regular paper. But we're getting there. When this started out with Nicole, I didn't think it would get any worse. Boy, was I. You're exactly. I don't know if this started with Nicole. I think she was roped into it. She was off to the side. If you go in a figure eight, it helps smooth it out better. Starting to get something that looks forged-ish. I can't keep track of a figure eight. I can't do it. It's like rubber. I bet Nicole misses when she was just faithless. Oh, most definitely. Are you going to heat up your titanium to get color popping? I don't know. I don't know what method I would choose to use if I do it. If I'll do, some actual like voltage style anodizing or leave it or heat it. I don't know. Story time? Like if I have, I don't know if I can't recall a good story. I have to be prompted. I have to remember where it came from. Eight SZ, whatever it takes. It does start to look good though. That weird finish. I love that other SpongeBob story. I don't remember what the other one was off the top of my head. What was I gonna? Well, you didn't share on what was that gonna be about? Oh, I can tell that one because it's not. So it was actually, that truck we worked on last week. That was for a friend of mine who lives in a northern state, the same state as Alex, actually. And he was getting married. So I lived in Kansas City at the time, and they lived in the Great White North. So, before that, Aardvark explained, thank you, sir. Give us tips on how to maximize our car's fuel efficiency while you sand. Help. Oh, God. I don't even want to talk about it. I'll think about that next. So, I was invited to a bachelor party. And this bachelor party was going to be in a middle ground between where I lived in Kansas City and where they lived in Minnesota. And Des Moines was the destination of choice. And Iowa, with their laws, their clubs are BYOB. And because they don't serve alcohol, they are open until 5 a.m. Anyway, me and two of the four of us, we ended up staying until it closed down at 5 a.m. And so the story is really about after that night there. We walked out of the club. It was nearly light out. And just outside, there was a man with a small cart selling gyros. And I was just like, a gyro outside of a strip club at 5 a.m. sounds fantastic. I'm going to wet the paper. Fine. It's not wet, dry paper, so I don't think it's supposed to be wet. But for the sake of argument, we'll do it. So myself and one other person, we get our gyro, and then we get a taxi at the time to the hotel. And oh, P.S. The name of the establishment was the Lumberyard. It's a terrible name for a strip club. But we left, and I went to the hotel, and I was like, I just passed out on the floor of this hotel room, which was actually somebody else's hotel room. And I think I woke up at like 10, basically when I had to be out of there. They had all already left, and I start driving back home towards Kansas City. And I got maybe an hour or so down the road. It's about a 3 hour drive. Hour or so drive, and I start getting those stomach rumblings, as you will. So starts increasing and getting worse. I made it about another 20, 25 minutes, and realized that there was an emergency stop that had to be made. And I was trying to avoid anything that resembled a rest or a truck stop. I was looking for a restaurant or something where I thought I would have some sort of better chance of a facility that was in reasonable condition. And I crested the hill, and there was a Wendy's, and it was at the point where it was like, this is the last call. This is the only shot I have left to save my dignity. So fly into the parking lot, and I realized that it is a shared Wendy's slash Flying J truck stop, or whatever version it was. I fly into the stall, and I chose the handicap stall, which comes into play here. And I sat down, safely made it into the facility, into that stall. Anyway, and it was terrible things were happening. So terrible that I like braced myself against the wall. And when I did that, it kind of shook the stall a little bit. And it shook the stall so much that the latch unhinged itself from the stall door, and it started to swing open. But it was a handicap stall, so it was too far away for me to reach. And I was in no position to be able to stand up to to fix it. And I was not the only person in there. Like I had decisions to make, and my decisions did not include standing up. I embarrass easily one of my most embarrassing moments. I will not go into further detail about the rest of that, but it was terrible. And anybody who it was like, I apologize to anybody who had to see what they saw, but I feel like if I could have told them why it was happening, they would have understand. Like they just like it was for a good cause. Yeah, that story is it's terrible. Oh, right. Starting to look like Dumb and Dumber shit or something. Yeah, exactly. Are you going to paint or clear coat these parts? No. Where's Nicole? She'd love this story. Pretty sure she knows it. You could start to see the shine and reflectiveness. You still see that line, that seam. Like it must be just how some of the twill or the carbon toe found its way in there because it's actually perfectly smooth now. It just must be a just a how the mold flow went. The top it's still there a little bit, but Angry Duck just finished putting the reefs 1100 in my Phoenix. Enough overkill? Substantial. I approve. You've never been allowed to go into a Wendy's again. Could never look at that lady again. Nice. Hey, trust me, your truck will be number one. Anyway, with that little defect, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine, I think. Well, we got to get into these little areas again. This part, probably not the surprise the lonely truck you didn't join you in the big stall. This surface isn't too bad, but it's going to take a little bit of work to get in there and get nice and smooth. It's coming along. Starting to look reasonable. This stuff does truly make me nervous because I really have no idea. Like normally I feel much more confident in the things that I do, especially on tiny trucks. Going into one of these parts on a live stream, I was just like, this could be terrible. Moral of that story: don't eat strip club gyros. Specifically, don't eat them even if they're not associated with that even level of establishment. They're sold in a cart, and it's not like it's in a busy downtown area. It's like, like it was a It might have been a gravel parking lot. Someone look up the lumber yard. See if they have a gravel or paved parking lot. It was a massive club, though. Like 3 or 4 stages. It was like 2 stories. Cody, Oscar, David. Are the Phoenix bodies in stock? Hopefully next week. Hopefully next week. Yeah, they're not in stock yet, though. Not a bad looking part. I'm not too unhappy with that. Still some layer lines. Can you see them in there? Not over here. Here I haven't touched them, but right in there. They're not bad, but oh, you can kind of see them there. Yeah, and here. Here you can see them. Need to get that better. Almost there. Making progress. I printed the extended servo mount in PA12. PA12 is garbage for any functional part. Yeah, PA12, it's a great detail stuff, but yeah. One of the best food I've had is tamales out of the back of a station wagon on Independence Avenue. Independence Avenue in what city? I don't feel like Independence Avenue is a good place in any city. Headed down to Sioux City tomorrow. Maybe I'll stay the night. Lumberyard has a gravel parking lot. Been there a bunch. Couldn't remember if I was picturing that detail correctly or not. Taco Bell versus Jack in the Box. Ugh. Taco Bell for almost everything, but Jack in the Box, like their egg rolls and they have a chicken teriyaki bowl. If you don't have high blood pressure and you can handle a lot of salt, it's worth it. I don't really eat there anymore. We're about ready to have to switch back to 400 or 600, whatever it was. There's an army base close by. Just saying. I found a picture of the lumberyard, and I see the cart in the picture. That's funny. This is looking. I'm pretty happy. I'm floating right now with the best Friday night ever. I wish Nicole was here to laugh at this stupid shit. You know what? She may not always find. There's also another component of that story which I'd probably make her be here for, because that was the part that actually I said it involved her, and the finish to that story is what involved her. Flat file might make those lines easier to fix. It might, but it's a curved surface the whole way. Like there's not a none of it's flat, so I can't get a flat file on any of it. Any tips for machining in aluminum? I want to make some micro servo mounts. I mean, look up the manufacturer of your tooling suggested feeds and speeds. Kind of the easiest way to tell you to start. I don't know what kind of CNC you're using or if you're using a manual mill or what, but look up the feeds and speeds based on the manufacturer of the tool. That is the best place to start. From there, writing your tool paths and things like that, that's a whole nother ball game. So, all right. The last strip club I was in had an unfinished plywood stage. Oh, they had opened one by Omaha when I was in just out of high school. And it was called the Playhouse. It's still there off I-80. But they opened it and it didn't have a stage. It had a pole and it had folding chairs, or not folding chairs, but like restaurant style chairs around it, like shitty restaurant chairs. They had amateur night on Wednesday nights, and they would post the pictures onto their website. And I remember one of the girls from my high school showed up on there, and everyone's like, "Go to the website for the Playhouse." There was 39 kids in my high school class, so you found out. You guys are picky about strip clubs. I feel, I mean, a shady club can be really fun. We're getting close to the end of this part of the show. I'm not sure what we're gonna do after this, really, but I don't know how long you guys can possibly sit and watch me sand on a useless, or what would appear to be the same thing. The hard part is these layer lines are vertical. I guess that's what I should be trying to go against them a little bit better. That might fix this problem. Yeah. Oh, my school had over 40. My school had over 40 students per class. Yeah, no. 39 kids in my graduating class. There's 300 in my school, which was 7 through 12. And even this, like, it's smooth now. It's funny how it makes some of the lines are just in there from the way that the mold is flows. Like, I can still feel where some of them are, but the rest of them, I can tell that it's sanded out, and it's just the way that the fibers have laid and the resin, you know, made them flow, which is kind of cool. Not something I had dealt with yet. While you sand, tell me what radio Fataba and why, please. The 4 p.m. is like the radio that I would suggest to 90% of people, 95% of people. You know, 4 channels is suitable for most. Um, I really like the programming on it. The battery life is fantastic. The receivers are cheap. Um, you get the 2106 GF receivers, super cheap. They're like $30. Um, and it's just got all the functionality that I think most people need. From there, there's also, then you can go up to like the 7PX or the 10PX. So that weird seam is like, it's just going to make me, I'm just going to look at that all the time. Why? So, but So that was, I'm going to throw that sandpaper away now. Do a little bit more wet sanding before we call this part kind of done. Just Sharpie over it. And I'll see it more. I think you've convinced me to start working with carbon fiber. It's so much. I mean, I don't know if you guys would consider this fun or not to do yourself, but clear coat. No, it's actually the carbon fiber. It's just the way, like, that's not a, it's just the way that the strands have like oriented themselves into a bit of an area. Or like not a bit of an area, but like they concentrated because of how the resin was being forced to flow. Looking pretty reasonable, I'd say. This, again, like I said, this is a failure. I think the part is still going to be usable, but that is a clear failure on my part as far as the mold goes. What I think that I'll do is I'll cut or sand this off. Probably cut it off. I'll probably cut off that whole lip, and I'll machine a piece of carbon fiber, and then I will adhere it to the inside to give me that same shape and allow me to get everything attached in the same way, with just a slightly different approach. So all fixable, but still. Now you need to over-engineer your wet sander to go with your Rod Notcher 9000. I think that he's saying is you should clear coat it. Yeah, I know what you mean, but like that definitely wouldn't fix my issue. But and the reason I've said why I didn't want to clear coat, I don't want to clear coat because with this epoxy, there is the way that you're supposed to clear coat it is with a certain type of clear coat that is bonds well to this type of resin, and it takes an automotive system to do it properly. And what I don't want to do is try doing it a different way and then causing myself to basically do a poor job of clear coating and then having it flake or things like that. And then I've got just garbage looking parts. So, but yeah, like car wax, things like that, just a heavy buffing compound, that's a possibility. I'm absolutely not going to clear coat it. How difficult would it be to fit a Vanquish 3-gear transmission into a 10.3? I think I need to make some type of plate for it to attach. Any suggestions on that? Yeah, I think that's basically you either need to make a skid plate or make a adapter plate. But beyond that, it shouldn't be too difficult. So, what part is it? It is the rear corner to the body of my Class 1 Jeep. I'll show you the 3D printed equivalent here in a second. Can you top coat it with a layer of resin? Yeah, possibly, but how even would it be? And then you're going to either end up needing to sand again. And really, it's kind of already top coated. Like that's what the resin is. So unless you got it perfectly smooth and didn't have to touch it again, I don't know that you're that far ahead. So top coating it, things like that, it's not something that I really plan on. Looking pretty good. Let's see what it looks like dry, because it's definitely going to look much duller. Now you're going to see all the imperfections. See how bad at this I actually am. No hiding it with a thick layer of water. It's not bad. So let's grab a 3D printed version and I'll show you. A little more cleanup to do. So this, I don't know, this could be a terrible view, is right here. So this area here, that area there. So the design for this is going to be that this center section, like the roll, below the tailgate, that will be second, or a separate piece, not second, but separate. So obviously, like I was mentioning, I got to cut out where that tail light goes, so that can go into place. But I don't think it's why not 3D print the parts in carbon fiber filament? Because it's like less than 1/10 of the strength. It's not really carbon fiber. It's just some little strands within a polymer. It's really like not even a comparable. It's not a comparable output at all. It doesn't look like carbon fiber at all. So yeah, but yeah, basically a completely different process, completely different outcome. So there we go. A lot more to do. More parts to make, more things to learn, more changes to make in the mold making process. Switch cameras here, but I think it'll work out just fine. Like I said, I'll make some changes, modify some stuff. I knew that this side piece here, it's like a vertical pull, and I tried to put as much material in there as possible. But when you're pushing down that plunger into that mold, it just didn't want to keep the material up there at all, which doesn't surprise me. And I feel like I should, I understand that enough to know why it did what it did and not to do that again with my mold design. But I felt like I tried to take my best stab at it, and we'll live and learn. So, but yeah, it's a lot of work for one corner to the cab, and we have a lot left to go. So, how much can we do? I may not change the mold design as far as this goes. I may try it again. I might try and just load it differently and do it again, because obviously time is running out. And I can try and do the same fix that I was going to do just on the other side, and and just not worry about it. So I think that'll be one thing. What I should check quickly is I don't remember exactly. I gotta check offhand. Oh no, it's not. I don't have Fusion loaded, so I'm not gonna open it. Add some reliefs for splitting the molds. Yeah, I should probably add a little bit more as far as that goes. The debate that I'm having with all of that is like I was able to get it out of the mold. So even though if it took some work, like what did it take me to get it out of the mold? Like 20 minutes maybe? Something like that. To go in and make a bunch of modifications to the design of the mold, it's probably going to take me over an hour. At least, probably 2 hours by the time I finish the CAD work, export all of the new files, get them back into the slicer, do the whole thing again. I'm probably at least 2 hours in all honesty. So, and how much is it going to save me? 10 minutes maybe? Cut it in half. So instead I can just take the exact same parts and mirror them and just do the same thing. And I'll be done. I'll take the same file I had, mirror everything around, and then I'm good. So just in the, and instead spend that time that I would be designing to fix a mold slightly, instead take it to design the next mold and get that going. So that's some of like that back and forth thinking that I had to go. Could you print in PLA? I don't know yet. I've thought about it. I've only been printing in PETG at this point. Part of it is that I believe PETG releases better from the resin, but I don't know that for sure. So it's the roll pane would be a good part to like test that out. Like let's try PLA. The molds are going to be small. They're going to be dirt simple. So best way to get a good release is to use, I don't know what that is. Polypropylene. I use a high build mold release wax, a non-silicone high build mold release wax. And that's what they suggest for best results. So I use the RW4 from Zencast. But best way to get released with a partner. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's probably the best way. Not the easiest, though. So, yeah. It's a bit of a messy process. You have to want to do it for what the part is. Now, I've learned a lot through this process. I've learned that I can make these parts about a third the thickness, and they'll still be wild strong. Like way stronger than needed. And just, like this thing I mean, I could probably hit it with that hammer. I'm not going to, but I could likely hit this with that hammer and it would just not flinch. It's just insanely strong. And then, I mean, the mold itself should be printed from this material. Interesting. I don't know about that. I've never used that. Could you have molded forged carbon blocks and then CNC'd the part out of the block? Possibly, but if you do that, you're looking at multi-operation. You got to try and mold a solid cast part. You're talking about a lot of waste. I think you would have even more hours into it. I think I don't think that it would be a good method to try and do to save any like wouldn't be the best way. Forged roll cage, you probably could, especially if it was a simple one, maybe not a full cage, but like a roll bar for something. But yeah, it's just depends on how you do it. I don't know. Like I think that if you kind of went outside the box with your design, like maybe you'd be all right. It's hard to say. You probably have to do it with either a lot of molds or with multi-pieces that like bolt or fasten together. Do you think you could use the mesh blanket fiber? You mean like regular? Do you think you could use the mesh blanket fiber? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. CNC and carbon fiber bad ideas. I mean, I CNC carbon fiber all the time. So, I mean, it's not terrible. That's how they cut carbon fiber. Like, but if you're trying to 3D machine it, maybe that's what you mean. Then yeah, it's flaky and things like that. This stuff is a little bit different, but I did have thoughts of putting this into a block or into a fixture, a 3D printed fixture, so that I could come in and then locate the points on my CNC and cut that taillight out just perfectly. But woven carbon blanket. I don't know. I don't know if it would be worthwhile. I missed yours, Jeremiah. Let me reset this. Oh, there you go. Thanks, Jeremiah. If you had the ability, would you have printed some of the parts or molded in metal? No. For one, if they were metal, I mean, maybe you could pry on them more as far as if they were like metal molds or something like that. But, um, I don't think that there would have been any enough benefit to like go through all of the extra that it would take to do that type of process for it. Let alone the cost of printing metal is way more outrageous than would be reasonable for anything like this. I mean, I've spent a lot of money on trying to figure out my processes for this car and these type of parts, but I mean, we all have our limits, right? Let's see. Um, that's how they do a lot of supercars. Lay down the carbon blanket, paint with resin, and then compress it in a mold. Oh yeah. Well, that is, isn't that usually vacuum compression though, which is a totally different process. Do they actually just use compression? I don't think so. I think it's all vacuum. Um, CNBC carbon would get real deadly duster without a filter set. CNC car. Oh yeah. I mean, I, I wear a respirator when I CNC carbon all the time. It's pretty. Josh has the limits. No. Plastic molds are better because they're flexible. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like being able to pull this thing out without it just, that I guess the upside would be that the resin wouldn't be as prone to stick. So, yeah, vacuum is different for sure. That's like a fully different type of process. And I actually bought all of the stuff to do that. Vacuum and heat. The heat is called an autoclave, and they use that mainly with pre-preg carbon fiber, which is common to use, especially on that type of stuff, because it's already got all of the epoxy in the sheet. And it's almost like a big sticker sheet. You basically like take it out, you putting it on the molds, and it keeps the twill looking nice and aligned. You get it all into place, and it keeps a better look on the outside. But then you have to take and bake it in an autoclave to get it to cure to the temperature you need, which is also super cool stuff. But autoclaves are a whole nother bag. But I did I bought a vacuum pump and the vacuum bagging stuff that I needed to do traditional carbon fiber work, because that was part of, well, when I had initially started designing this body and things like that was kind of my plan, was to do traditional style carbon fiber, but then this just turned into a whole nother thing. So yeah, I will definitely get into the more standard carbon fiber stuff later this year. I think that's my plan. I want to do some, like if I'm doing a hood again, like I'm probably going to do this hood with this method. I could try and do regular style carbon fiber for the hood, but even if this process is going to possibly take me longer to do the actual work, versus what I'm likely going to screw up trying to learn the vacuum bagging for the first time, because while I have the stuff, I don't know anything. The only thing I know is from watching a handful of YouTube videos. So, which is all I knew of this when I started, but now I've literally had 2 or 3 months of experience, which is nothing. That's nothing in the world of experience. I'm still an absolute noob. And, I'll look back at things that I did in this video series in a year probably and go, oh, I was an idiot. That's when I was still doing this or that. So, yeah. Just buy some sheets and bend it for the hood. I don't think that's a thing. The hood wouldn't look right. Twill. I know. The other option is, where's that? I don't even know where the hood went. I drop that hood a billion times a week. It's lost forever. The other option is is forged carbon overlay, which is like the poser version of forged carbon. And that's where you just take something you have and you just lay the twill or the carbon fiber chopped toe over it and put it on with resin and then put some more on and then more resin and then more resin. Then you just sand it. You're like, yeah, it's forged carbon. That is why forged carbon actually gets such a bad name, is because overlay is something that people just do on a regular steel hood. And they're like, I got a carbon fiber hood. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Print 2 hood molds and do both. Keep the best one and sell the other. It's a time thing again. Like, I don't have time to create both and then do both. I just don't have time. I think that I'm already, it's because it's not just the fact that I'm doing this. I got to do the other car. I have to finish that. The best way to learn is to screw up. Absolutely. The hood wouldn't look right in twill. I know. I don't know that it doesn't look right. I've got other twill carbon on this car. Like, there's going to be both already. So it's like, the roof is twill, the interior is twill. Side panels could still be twill. I don't know yet. It's one thing to be like, it's almost all carbon. If I add titanium, the other problem is, the one thing that I haven't really discussed is that I can do titanium for the sides, but that will make the sides flat, where I was going to have a bit of a bevel across the top edge of it in carbon. So that's the difficult part. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know yet. Mike Patey inspires everyone. Agreed. Mike Patey is amazing. I do like watching his stuff. He gives a lot of good tech tips on doing kind of, wild stuff. And here's another, I don't know what you want to call it, improper layup of mine. So this is another thing with the chop toe. So the fibers down in this corner here, you see how that corner's a little bit more white? That's because there's almost no, I'll go to the top camera overview. See that? It all blends perfectly, and I didn't notice it first, but that is almost all just resin. The carbon fibers didn't find their way into that corner of the mold. So they bridged themselves up. This is another area where possibly doing some fine chopped toe and putting it in first, especially in the corners, maybe something that I try. Maybe I'll try doing, again, this exact same part, but for the other side, just mirroring the molds and layering up some. I'll take some of that chopped toe out of the bag, cut it into like maybe a third of the length, and then seeing if that flows into like that corner there better. This, I don't have high hopes on it flowing up because that's a vertical surface. And even if I load it as best as possible, I think when I push in that plunger from the top, it just pushes all of that down. And then this as well, like how that's improper looking. That's just, that's almost like an underfill. Like it had to go somewhere. But I can also feel like this area right here, like this surface right here, the thickness right there is higher than normal. I'm thinking, let's see, do I have, I'm guessing that the interior mold, the plunger part, I'm guessing that it caved in that area. Less resin maybe? No, the resin's not the problem. The excess resin squeezes out. It's all about the carbon getting where it needs to. Let's see if I can find that piece of the mold. Yep, there it is. So let's look at this. Good gracious, look at that thickness right there. So yeah, actually I can absolutely. I wonder if I can show that. I can feel it by hand, and I can feel that it's indented right there. Josh and I have the same razor mouse. My problem is that my left click is starting to wear out. Alex, do you know if I can take this button off and clean out underneath of it? It's starting to become a pain in the ass. I'm gonna have to buy a new one if not. Let's try. See how you can see that gap there? You shouldn't see any gap between that ruler. And that was not like that. I mean, I assume that it printed fairly proper, but the pressure from molding likely pushed in the mold in that area. Like it forced the plastic in. And that I can just feel that in the result here. Your time is worth more than buying a different mouse. Yeah, I agree. I likely just need to buy. I think I'll probably buy the same one. I really liked this mouse. It was a good mouse. Planned obsolescence is a razor design. Huh, well, you know. Josh, did you talk about honey pooping in strippers? What did Josh talk about, honey? Pooping in strippers. Yeah. And there lots of carbon fiber talk as well. Hit the house with some compressed air. I did that. That was what I was trying to do. Just trying to get in underneath there. Just did it with my air compressor. I didn't have like a compressed air can, but yeah. So I think my plan of attack is going to be cut this all off. I'll design up a new piece that I'll CNC and attach in there. I'm guessing with like a 2-part epoxy. And I'll recreate that surface then with that. We'll see if it does any different with my different method of loading the next mold. But what I think I need to do is probably just fire up the printer tonight and get the next one of these going right away. Like I don't have time to sit around and wait. I know where I had my faults. Right there is one. You can see that's basically all resin. Basically right there, almost all resin. Underfill in this area and that. So by no means has none of the parts I've done have been perfect. But learn a little bit from each one. And this one was difficult, especially with that slide and everything else. Yeah, there you go. Let's go back to the other. There's the hood. There's my hood. This is, I mean, I have concerns with this one as well, just because of the size. It's a big hood. I think that the shape of this is going to be, I don't know. I feel like it should be easy, but I know that I'm probably wrong. I don't know. I hope that it comes out fine. The other, again, the other option is that I can run a 3D printed hood. If I have to, I will run a 3D printed hood. It is what it is. You know, or I could vacuum form it. I could have a styrene hood. Like, it's what will you do differently when you print that part? That's a great question. I don't know that I'll do anything differently. It's for what, like I was discussing. I'll just set it and go, and then I'll learn again and try and make the next design better, but continue with the same part design so that I can move forward. The only things that I'm going to do are just change up. I'm going to do some of the finer chopped toe and go from there. Just cover it with forged carbon. But yeah, like, I mean, I could do the overlay. I don't know that I will or want to. Tuning in late. Watch full video tomorrow. What's going on, John? There was only a very small amount of bloodshed tonight, so that was good. But for the most part, we've been a success. I've pointed out all of my shortcomings. Forged carbon hood or nothing. Oh, I agree. That's the plan. I do have a friend who has a much larger 3D printer who's I'm going to leverage to print the hood mold for me. It's a Raise 3D, so it's a much larger format, and I'm going to get that designed and loaded up. I should get that going this weekend so that I can go to his place and get that going, maybe pick it up early in the week. Just use a 300 piece mold for the hood. The one thing that I have been thinking about is actually doing for the hood, doing like a pie cut section. So having two wedged sections with a center, so you can take the center out and then the two insides would come out a little bit easier, just to make that release more likely to happen in a reasonable way. But yeah, I've got, I also had all of these attachment points that I had done on this one, which they're not needed. I'll probably remove all but 2 per side even, and then go from there. What was your process of loading it? Could start with filling flat side first. So I did that. I packed it in on that side as best I could because I knew that it was going to be an option. And I was hoping that the resin, as I pushed it in, would, for one, I hoped that it would stay over there, and then the resin would help push as much up in that way as possible. But that wasn't the case. So that's why I lost that side of it. But it's kind of wild to see the carbon as it flowed in the resin and things like that. It's a fun process. I'm glad I learned it. I mean, I guess I'm glad that I not only learned it, but decided to push myself to do so many pieces, one after another. I think that's been the absolute best thing for me for learning, just because if you do one piece, you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. It came out okay. I learned something. But then you don't do another one, and you just you come back to it the next time, and your learning process it's a little slower, and you don't pick it up as well. This one has definitely been a much more accelerated learning process, I think, just because of what I've forced myself to do. By all means, we still have lots of ability to. I could pull the emergency cord at any time and tell myself that I need to start cutting a corner and do a process differently to save a bunch of time. And this hood would be the place to do it. Like if I wanted to just be like, nope, we're vacuum forming this hood and we're moving on. This would be the one to do it with, because I could absolutely just, even if I vacuum formed it, covered it in carbon fiber and resined it and called it done. I would be so much more ahead of it, but I could do that in a day. Could you use Matt's resin smoothing process on the molds first to get a smoother mold? Yes. That has also been something that I have thought about doing. The 3D print can be the mold. Wait, what? Sorry, I missed that. I was trying to read back and see what you were saying there. I'll have to. I don't know what that process is of using foam core and molding it or bending it, whatnot. I'll have to try and Google that. But resin smoothing, absolutely, I could do for the molds. Definitely been something I thought about. I was going to order it and try it and didn't. Probably should. Matt said it sped things up a lot. Definitely be worth doing. Just do a craft foam hood. Save so much time. Josh, you see my questions about the vents? I did not. Why don't you the screens like you did underneath? Why don't you do this? I don't know what you mean. Where would I do the screens? In what? Like in the hood itself? I'm not trying to add more things that have to be. If you add a hole here, that means you have to have something that goes through the mold, in the mold to come up, and then you have to have a receiving end in the other part, and then it has to release, and that is not easy. What about vapor smoothing the prints? Possibility. With PETG, I'm not sure how well vapor smoothing works. So, how well did the mesh vents turn out? I haven't done the other two mesh vents yet. I still have the parts here. I guess we could do those tonight. I could get that done. I have to go grab the mesh. It's in the garage real quick though. But that would be good progress. Things that I need to get done that I haven't done yet. If you guys give me 45 seconds, I could probably do that. Better make it like 65 because I got to grab another water too. Oh, wait, I have another one. Okay. Put the carbon aside for a moment. Don't love doing this process inside because this stuff kind of gets a little out of there. Okay. Oh, the other tin snips are out in the garage, but that's okay. I've said this before, but these tin snip sets, this is the Beasley setup, or Bessie, Bessey, Bessie. And these are the miniature snips for our. They come in a set of 3, and they are incredible. So worth it. Show. You guys want the top-down screen? Probably. Let's throw. Oh, where's my Sharpie? It's in the Sharpie block. Matt. So, this little mesh shit is pokey. You got to be careful. So, quick little sketch. Oops, wrong hole. This is not an exact thing. I'm just trying to make it large enough. one. So I've got two. One side is the male side here. You can see it protrudes. This side's the female side. It goes in. So we're going to get it relatively close. Relatively close. I'm going to use the backs. It's the back side of my dental pick to put a hole that corresponds. I've got some 1/8 inch dowel pins. That I use for alignment. I'm going to grab my block. So that in. Wasn't enough. So the mold 3D printed. Yes, mold is 3D printed. It's just regular PLA. The mesh, yeah, is a splatter guard for the kitchen. So like if you're cooking bacon, you would put it over the pan, and it catches the splatter while you cook, so it doesn't like spit and pop up and hit you. So we're gonna continue to get these alignment dowels in place. I probably only need two. This mold's got three, but it's really not needed. We're gonna just enlarging the mesh enough to get everything lined up. The dowel pins aren't like crazy, absolutely super duper needed, but they sure help. So we'll just put 2 of the 3 in. I think that'll work just fine. So those 2 are in. We're going to tap the mold down. Probably could have cleaned those holes out beforehand. Just a little bit of like PLA flashing from the original print, the first layer. So that's loaded up. I haven't compressed it at all yet. It's just down all the way. Like I said, I only used 2 of the 3. I think that's all it's needed. You can see the... Now I did make some changes to the design on this mold. We're going to see how it works. No idea if it's going to work yet or not. Probably should have led with that, but we shall see. I actually also made a mistake with this mold. You see on this back side, I made these molds in like maybe 10 minutes for the pair. But this surface right here around, and it's not here, but just here and here. It doesn't have that chamfer. See that 45-degree chamfer? It's missing throughout here and here, and I didn't see it, and I just hit print. So I missed that part of it. But put it in the vise and crank it down. I've used the vise, and the vise does not work as well as a hammer. The thing that has worked the absolute best, I've tried hammers, I used a press, and honestly, nothing worked as well as a hammer. So I'm not going to do it on my desk here, though, because it holds my monitors and my CPUs mounted underneath. So we're going to do the super awkward one where you guys watch me hammer in my lap. But I had the other half of that other mold over here. You can really hear it. You can hear it when it's not all the way down, then you can hear it once it fully compresses. It makes like a different sound. Um, like right there, it's all the way down. Looks good. The other thing is that a vise, it's harder to do if you use alignment pins. The alignment pins have to be exactly the right length. Um, I think we're in good shape. Looks good to me. Again, when I kind of came up with this method the first time, I was just like, I think that I think that a vise is going to be the way. That a vise is what I had in mind, and I did it with a vise, and I was just like, oh, well, that didn't work that well. Like, it worked okay. Did it with a hammer the next time, and it worked way better. I was like, that's weird. So I tried the same mold, but with a vise. It still didn't work as well. I was like, oh. And it was a big vise, not just a little one. Pull my pins out. You can see it was good and compressed down. Like it's still actually all the way down. Even on the back side here is where the air that mistake was. Whoops, this side. That one turned out great. Look at that definition. That turned out fantastic. I really like that. Now I didn't trim this all the way down to size yet, but man, even the area that I had the screw up, it worked out just fine. Now again, this is a super overkill thing for this. It doesn't, there's no. So even like I was saying where that perfectly vertical area was, no draft angle, it came out great. I mean, arguably arguably better than where I have a draft angle. So, I mean, I could simplify this mold making even more and be in great shape. This mesh is forgiving. I mean, it's a stainless steel mesh. I was actually worried that it wasn't going to be very forgiving, but it is. And it's just like the perfect scaled size. So let me grab this is the titanium inner panel. This one actually had some laser on the back side of it still. This is so this is titanium, this is aluminum. The aluminum one's about half the weight. Same thickness, so that's what titanium is about half as or about twice titanium is about twice as heavy as aluminum. For those that didn't know. But so the idea is that this sits right in there, which it does. Focus. And it's like I said, it's a super minor detail. In person, it looks cool. I mean, it you can see that it protrudes up into it. In video, you can't see anything. Like it's pointless in video. But from the backside, you can tell. But from the front, it you definitely can't. So I'm super happy with that. I think that looked great. I like it. Um, yeah. I got nothing to complain about here. I think that whole thing, other than my shitty video skills and falling out of frame constantly. Um, so yeah, this needs to be trimmed to length. That's for sure. So Sharpie, all again back in the Sharpie block. So I'm gonna just give myself a rough idea here. The nice thing is it keys itself in, so it's not going anywhere. Cut all the way across that. Most of this will sandwich in, so it won't need any real adhesive or anything, but you can make it look rusty. I don't want it to look rusty. I don't I don't want anything to look rusty on here. Ugh. The whole truck's going to be carbon fiber and titanium and you have rusty vents. That would look borderline ridiculous. You can't mix genres like that so much. If you're going to have shiny and new, make it look shiny and new. Otherwise, you'll look like the RC four-wheel drive Rust Bucket Blazer. Have a wild, really ridiculous patinaed paint job on with all bright chrome work. There we go. So again, yay. It's so pointless that we did any of that detail for these things though. Like, unless you're in person and absolutely like looking for the detail, it's completely unnoticeable. On a different project, it'll be great. I like that I again experimented with the technique and that it worked so well with this material because it's the first time that I've ever used this material for that. But for this truck, it was a detail that will be the effort that it took, the printing time that it took is lost in the real, you know, for any real matter. Me. Okay, we got one more to do because I got two of them, so I can't just do one. Let's make sure that I don't do the same one twice. Pretty sure this is not the same one. It is not because that's down and this is up. So we're good. With all the work going into this car, I could never sell it. With all the work going into this car, I have to sell it because, for one, it's costing me a fortune, and for two, I otherwise I don't even know. Like, I feel like after this much time, it has to go. Like, it has to move on. I have to sell it. It has to go somewhere else, or I don't. It'll just become like a weird thing that I never stopped screwing with and spending way more money on. Like, like I'm afraid. I'm afraid to keep things like that. Okay, let's cut out another piece. This is unofficially known as the $10,000 truck, right? Oh my god, it's scary. So the reason I don't cut it right to size the first time is because that I do need it oversized for the alignment pins and such. Okay. Already loaded the mold with the pins. I don't know why I did that though, because I need to punch the holes. Even my even my wife knows it as the $10,000 truck. I think I bought that splatter guard for you, Matt or Ben. You are absolutely correct. We bought it because we used it first on the grills on the Woods Runner when I was experimenting with not stamped mesh but stamped panels, which is still one of my favorite things. There was so many things on that Woods Runner that I thought turned out so well. Specifically, the whole bed. The bed was like my favorite thing. No, let's that whole good and wallered out. Is wallered a word that you guys use, or is that just a Midwest thing? Go ahead and waller that thing out. Or is that an actual word? I don't even know. I feel like we always used it as a slang. I feel like it's a slang term. I know what happened. I got all wallered out. You had to replace that. Let's see. What do you think I hear it used? Do you hear it used by wallowed? Ah, that could be the difference. We use wallered as you know, Midwest, Southern Midwest. Yeah, we caught a little mesh. We caught a little mesh in with that dowel pin, but it's okay. He's okay. Definitely a word here. Lol, Kansas City. That doesn't count. It's where I used it. Hogged out. Hogged out. That's something we'd say like when we were like getting a big cut at something. But wallered out is like something that like if you know put something through a hole and just kind of like I have that same hammer. This hammer is the best. I've had this hammer for like over 10 years. You can see the brass end is all swedged. Oh, I broke the mold right there. See it? Eh. Why am I so bad at this camera? Okay. That's how I describe my ex-wife. Right? Getting that back flush. I've never heard that word swedged, Josh. Um, I'm pretty sure that's an actual word. Someone confirm dictionary with that. I'd like to know if I'm using if I'm using just all kinds of words that aren't supposed to be the right way. Are those D15 compact aviation tin snips? They are. They're amazing. D15AL. So good. Swedged is a word. Okay, thank you. I was pretty sure that swedged was a word. That's that term when like the like the end of this hammer, how it's starting to flare out at the end. Yes. Yes, it is. Swedge blocks are for cable. Oh, swedge blocks too. Yeah. Good? Are you done? You had enough? I feel like it's had enough. Okay. Sledge to shape a hammer. To shape a hammer. I don't think sledge is the term that I'm trying to use. Ah. Oh, okay. You got auto corrected. It is swedge. Oh, it's literally to shape a hammer. Yeah, what do you know? I'm using it even more correctly. Amazing. Turbine or turbine? I think I say turbine. I don't know why. Twin turbine? I think twin turbine. What did you think of Cleus MR2 card with it? Oh my god, that looked, I mean, scary. Like, I feel like that that was that was a scary situation. I mean, that card looked like it was not it was not ready. Oh, this is the one that, remember when I was saying I got all that material in there? Whoops. All right. I better unscrew up my situation here. Uh, get the punch set out. We'll use the little hammer. Hey. Right. Can you hit up fish with my... Oh, yes, Ben, I can. Uh, remind me of that tomorrow. I will, or if he's watching this tomorrow, like he said he was going to, or if he's still watching now. Fish, if you're still watching, we have the other half of our Airbnb to pay for. Okay. Number 2 is done. Oh, I guess it's not done. I need to trim it to size. Okay. Let's see. Paint the screen black so it pops out. I don't know if I can. I don't know. I don't know if I want it black. I kind of like the stainless look. Okay. Okay. Josh, don't paint. Josh doesn't paint anything if he can help it. That's exactly true. Like, the fact that it's not clear right now, like, I think it's good. I've got to paint my interior wheel wells and transmission tunnel, and right now I'm just like, I don't want to move this so we can clean this up a little easier. These little slivers like to go just about everywhere. I've been doing this in the garage like a smart person, but live video will make me do about anything stupid in here. Okay. Brian, thank you, sir. What should I buy? Enduro kit V2 249, Enduro Gatekeeper kit 239, SCX10 2 kit for 239. Ooh. I mean, personally, I feel like I still like the SCX10 2 better. I think that the axles and the gears and all that are a lot better. feel like the Gatekeeper is cool if you like the style, but I think I would still go SCX10 too, personally. Right. Fits well, looks good. Done and doner. So cool. I have both of those things done. Knocked off my list. Make sure that we'll get the rest of these little splinters. Devil's whiskers. Dale S. Thank you, sir. Very late to the party tonight, but really enjoyed all the custom fabrication work. The class one is a piece of art. Thanks for all the great content. Have a great one. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Thanks for the comment. And Brian, again, thank you, sir. 199. I have an SCX-10 already, if that helps, and a TRX4. Then honestly, I would still tell you the SCX-10 too. And I think that you'll understand that it's a great setup. And I mean, I still like the SCX-10 better than the SCX-10 personally. I don't think the SCX-10 drives that great, which is my biggest. I think it looks good. It just, that motor is up so high, plus the portals and all that. The SCX-10 has such an awesome aftermarket. The SCX-10 performs much better than either of those as far as most of the situations I drive in, side hilling, climbing. You know, if you're in an area with a lot of riprap, then the portals from either of those are obviously an advantage. But the center of gravity on either of those other ones is really high, not because of just the portals. You can make a portal rig have a nice low center of gravity, but neither of those two do. So I would still tell you SCX-10 D44 soon? D44, but I don't know about soon. They will be made again. I just don't know. I don't have a date on when. Trust me, we want them too. All of us at the shop, it's one of our favorite axles. So just a matter of juggling production. The problem is that they were not popular until they were not available. And it's like, it's always one of those things that we look at. We're like, by the numbers, these are not the thing to make. Like, it's not until you can't get that stuff that people seem to want it. Amazing. Just like that girlfriend you had in high school. You didn't want her anymore until that other guy you knew wanted to date her instead. What metal front bumper do you recommend for the Phoenix? Ooh. You know what? I don't have a good answer for that. I have not swapped on a metal bumper on the with the Phoenix body. You're right. 10.3 didn't do well until $800 in mods. Yeah, it's a bummer. So I guess I don't need to make you stare at that camera anymore. You can stare at this camera where I'm still not doing anything necessarily that interesting now. So instead, I was out of any type of mixer tonight, so I did not make myself a drink at all. Instead, we're having bubbly water. Wait, sorry. Um, can we talk about 3D scanner? Because I bought a 3D scanner. It's not going to be here until April-ish, but I'm super excited about it. I have a lot of things that. No, I don't have any tomato juice. Wow, another night Josh giving over my questions. Guess I'm invisible. No, I just definitely didn't see. I still actually don't see any of yours above there. You have to say, let's see, Capper versus Bomber for a project. We're going to get back to my 3D scanner thing. Capra versus Bomber for a project. If it's a Capra four-wheel steer, then I would lean that way. I really like my Capra four-wheel steer. The Bomber, I also love. I think it's a great truck. I think everybody should have one. But it is a project car itself as well. So it's a tough question because I think both cars need a lot of work. I enjoy both of them in their own ways. Well, that's not true. I don't enjoy the Capra except the four-wheel steer Capra. The Capra itself was not one that I really. It should have been the car I loved because it's very much like. I find it to be very similar to my Carnivore. So, I'm grabbing this because it's kind of going to go into my other topic as well. The Capra I thought was going to be something that was like this truck, a caged buggy with portals, you know, and this, I like this style. I like caged off-road type trucks. But it was not. It was hard to work on. I thought the proportions of it were odd. And it just didn't do what I wanted. So, you know, the gearing was so bad in it. I like my four-wheel steer Capra now, but I have changed so much. I mean, obviously my Bomber, which is up there, I have changed so much of too. So honestly, I would get the one that you want to stare at. Whatever one, I said that a lot, but whatever one you like the looks of, get that one. Because if you don't like looking at it, what's the point? And that's my biggest problem with the Capra, is I don't love looking at it. But the four-wheel steer aspect of it actually makes me really enjoy the car driving. So, but anyway, I want to go back to the 3D scanner. That was the thing I wanted to talk about. I bought a 3D scanner. Creality is launching one on Kickstarter, and the campaign ended, I think, today. So I got it for like 45% off or something like that. So I think I paid like $375 or $400 for like a $750 scanner. But it's not a 3D scanning is not a perfect solution for everything. You can't just scan it and then use the file. You have to basically use it to create good files. But I think that it's going to be super useful for me in certain applications, especially for like cages inside of pre-existing made bodies, or making parts for pre-existing made cages like this, where I have underneath of this hood, I have like an ESC mount setup that I made. And it seems to be, it's something that should be able to scan, and then should be able to go from there to use that reference data to pull in information. Versus some of the previous, like there's been a lot of scanners out recently. You give like $300. They've all been about the same hardware. This one's at least a little bit different hardware, and for the money, it should be a decent. It's not a $10,000 peel or anything like that, but I'm not using it to try and make money either. Better than using photogrammetry. That scanner is not that detailed. Well, this scanner's new. They had the CR scan before. This is the second generation one. Comparing the two is pretty different, at least as far as initial results. And from what people are doing, the detail they're getting, even just normal people that are still getting them from Creality, it's actually looking pretty decent. So for what I'm looking for, pulling that reference data in should be more than reasonable. Especially for something like getting tube work geometry, where really you're just trying to find the mean average between points. And especially for like a body where you're just trying to get a rough surface to try and look up that. Oh, I just looked it up. The old one was terrible. Yeah, the old one has been out for a while, but it was not. Yeah, this is, like I said, it's brand new. They just launched on a Kickstarter. It's not out yet. It'll be out in April. But it should offer some real decent advantages for things that I'm trying to do, especially with trying to do some more advanced things lately that I've been putting off and not getting done because of time of other things. So, yeah, I'm looking. This one especially is one of the things that I plan to get done soon. I hate how much this the light blows out the hood of this thing. This was that vacuum formed hood project that we did. I put out a video on this whole thing. You can't see it unless I put the whole thing upside down and hide it. But it came out good. I like it. Wow, new Proline crawlers, shocker. And new KMC tanks, orange, black. These are standard rings with black scale hardware though. So good. But it needs new foams. It's got stock foams in it right now. Oh, let's see. So the other thing I have to do is I did 3D print. I wonder what I did with them. Let's see. I 3D printed the mounts for my interior in this, and I've yet to mount them, which I need to do. The amount of parts that I've 3D printed for this truck have far exceeded. I need to start throwing all of the tooling away for this thing. Like all of the stamps, the previous, you know, vacuum forming things. How big is the scanner? I don't know. It's about like that long, about that wide. Flocking kit. Let's. Well, we're not going to find that tonight. I'll do it later. Or I'll reprint them because I can't find them. One or the other. We'll figure it out. To release your mold, you could design in some areas to screw a bolt in against a wall on the opposite side to force the two. Yeah, as long as it didn't just puncture through 3D print. Like a lot of these things, they take so much force that if I tried to do it with a screw, it would just put a hole through the other side of the part and then not work that well. I know what you mean. The principle of it works, but I just don't know that it will work in practice with 3D printing. Like it's just not quite rigid enough. And especially PETG, it's got some give to it. It's got some flex. Like PETG isn't necessarily stronger than PLA. It's got some more flexibility to it, which is the nice part. But so I've got the windowed inner panel on that side. I need to take this all apart so I can put the mesh in there. And I need to do it on the other side. So much work. Obviously, we're not going to get to that tonight. Make a plate for the spreader screws to push against, and yeah, that's an option. Again, it's just like how much I'm doing one-off parts. Like how much extra work is it worth to make spreader plates to put in there and do all that when it's like it's going to save me 5 minutes maybe of mold time release. Like if it was a production thing, so much of that stuff would be like things that I would like seriously want to put into work because it's like it would save me 5 or 10 minutes every time. So it's not worth it though for a one-off. Like that stuff, it just doesn't make sense. I just need to do it the most efficient way, which is just get through it, get it done, and, and move on to the next one. So that's not a ripper, is it? It is not. It is not a ripper. Let's see. Lexan mold is way easier. Yes. I don't know what you're referring to. So, yeah, that's I don't know. we're getting there. A few things left. I think I need to start getting. The big question is whether or not, like, what I decide to do about the twill sides may be what go on. Um, I don't know. They may go on just so that I can keep moving. Um, I've got to disassemble a number of things on this to get it pulled apart so I can swap some stuff in and be done. I think it will depend mainly on the. I'm waiting on my electronics, and I want to get my electronics in here, wired, get the truck running, confirm that everything is good, and then move forward. If I don't have the stuff that I hear that I need by then, that's what I'm gonna do. Where did you order the titanium tube from? This is solid 3/16 grade 5 titanium, which you can get just about anywhere. So it's I got this from someone who works in the aircraft industry, so that's a nice part there. But I'll have only have so much. I ordered 1/8 inch grade 5 titanium rod from McMaster, but I didn't need a lot of it. If I needed enough for if I needed enough for like a whole truck, I don't know what that would have come out to be. I don't remember how much I used of this. Probably maybe 6 or 8 feet. It'd probably be maybe it'd be $100 in if I was ordering it just from McMaster, which isn't terrible, but it's still probably 3 or 4 times the amount of. Let's see. I have the McMaster app on my phone. Let's see. We'll just go McMaster 3. Oh, let's go titanium rod. Titanium in rod form. 3/16 diameter. I would probably buy it grade 5, 3 feet lengths, $36 a stick. So about $12 a foot, which isn't, it's expensive, but it's not terrible. $36 for three. You'd probably be 130 or $150 somewhere in there for enough rod to do a cage in titanium, which isn't outrageous. Did I look at the AHP TIG welder? I did, and the AHP is definitely one I'm considering. I think right now I'm looking for a new TIG welder, and I think that I'm looking between the AHP and the Everlast. Those two. The AHP is probably going to be about half the price of the Everlast. The Everlast I think would end up costing about $2,000, where the AHP I think it's $9.99, but once you add tax and shipping, blah blah blah, whatnot. So kind of thinking between those two. Can you braise titanium? Technically, there is brazing supplies for titanium. I've never seen it. I haven't seen it widespread. I see it from one company. I looked at it specifically. I only see it available from one company. And it's just like, I don't know. I didn't try it just for that reason. What's the point of using titanium? 3/16 solid rod titanium is about 5% lighter than using DOM steel tubing. So it's lighter than the lightweight steel option that I would have used. Try my new one before you buy. That's right. You have the, which one did you have, Gunner? I couldn't remember. Power, something like that. Powerwell. So it's lighter. It's very strong. DOM steel tubing is light. Is a fairly light option, but it bends easy. So this is much stronger and lighter. It looks cool. Do they not make aluminum tube yet? They do, but aluminum tubing that you could bend is very soft. Otherwise it cracks. So aluminum is just not a good option. It's really not. It's the size that you have to use to make it reasonable in RC, I think doesn't look very good. It's just, for me, aluminum is never been an option that I'd be interested in for this type of thing. Prime weld, that's what you had, yeah. So the titanium, I think, is probably one of the best options, even though it is expensive. If I was trying to, and also, if I was going to be like, obviously, I was saying I was going to try and be competitive this year, and I ended up just building what I wanted to build instead. If I was going to try to be competitive, I would have built a cage, roll bar, whatever, out of 1/8" titanium. Wild light. This stuff weighs like nothing. Still be as strong as a steel 3/16 cage, at least. Yeah, that would have been the way I would have gone. So that's mainly the reason. So anyway, it is after 9 o'clock already. So I'm gonna call this one for the night. Try and get a few other things done. Get some stuff prepped to work on tomorrow. I've got to get some absolute hoofing done this weekend. So thanks to everybody who joined and hung out. Saw me decarbon mold a mold of carbon fiber. Yeah, and there we go. That's all I know. That's all for this time. Thanks to everybody who joined, everyone who donated. Much appreciated. And we will see you guys maybe Sunday morning for STL Sunday. Depends on what I got going on. Or if I've got stuff I need to design, maybe you'll watch me design a carbon fiber mold. That, I don't know if that will be exciting to anybody, but if I got to work on something, that's what we're going to do. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded. Later, everybody. See you next time.